At this time, we'll call this meeting to order, and we want to thank everyone for coming out to join us tonight. At this time, we have an invocation by Dr. Harry Workman. He's the minister at the First Baptist Church here in Waitsburg.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to be here to pray with you. I do offer an apology that I have to leave immediately because our service starts at 6. With that, let us pray together. O Lord God of the universe, who has called us by name, who has created us in the dark places and called us forth into light, we'd ask that the light of your love and wisdom and joy and knowledge be present in this room tonight as the men and women in leadership who you have called sit and deliberate and hear and discern. May you pour out your spirit of wisdom. And all who are in this place are gathered representing a variety of needs, hopes, dreams, perhaps even fears. That we would be united because of the love that binds us, by the hope and joy of the future that calls us. We'd ask, oh God, that you would allow us in this place the humility of really hearing each other. That we would listen with our hearts, and that we would listen with our minds, that we'd open our eyes to the needs of the others who are speaking. Oh God, we'd ask that you continue to break the strongholds of distrust and division that are so prevalent in our country. That God, that we would lift our eyes to you for the wisdom, strength, as you're the God of all nations, and you're the God of all races, you're the God of all history. And so now we give to you this time that has been given to us as stewards. We give you this resource of this city, this county. We give you all that has been placed in trust by those who have elected and voted and hoped and dreamt. May this be a solemn proceeding, but one that is also filled with joy. For us in the strong name of Christ we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. At this time, we will have the approval of the agenda by the commissioners. And at this time, anyone have anything to add, let us know, please. Mr. Manager.
Chairman, I would like to add 2 things to the consent agenda. The first thing, capital project ordinance you have at your desk in regards to the capital project working with the Anson County Middle School. It has to create the capital ordinance so that we can receive the dollars. The next item, which would be E, sorry, that one's going to be D. The next one's going to be E, which is the budget amendment for general fund dollars to match a grant. It's a 3-to-1 grant, so we'll be matching whatever they request with money from the general fund.
Sir, what kind of grant?
It's the needs-based grant that they received in October 2018. The $15 million that the school.
Oh, absolutely. I'm with you.
Now, this is 2 different grants, right? 2 different school items, talking about, right?
There's 2 different school items. One, we're creating the project ordinance. We have the ordinance so that we can then pull down and create a fund, and then once we create the fund, we can pull the money and put it into the fund.
Okay.
The next thing I have is going to be on the manager's report. It'll be J. And it'll be authorization of the county manager to sign the contract with a new audit company. Not new audit company, but a new audit contract.
Were you satisfied with the work?
We're getting there. That's all I have.
Okay. Any commissioner have anything? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to make a note. I have some information about the college. I'd like to say probably everybody already knows it. It's just some trivia type information.
Okay. Do you want to give us a report?
Under the Commissioner Concerns, petition announcements and comments.
Okay. All right. We have, added to our consent agenda was the 2 budgets items for the school. That was C and D, and we added to the manager report J, audit, the signed audit contract. Okay, Mr. Woodburn had an item, Commissioner's concern on 8. Okay? Do we have a motion to D and E? Okay, I'm sorry. D and E. We'll see then. Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, we got it right, and that's
Move the agenda be approved.
Second. Before you
We
do
got
that,
another one,
I
excuse me.
have one item to add on under the appointments. We need to reappoint Mr. William Wall to the jury commission, and it'll come up under 5B when we start approving appointments. Okay? Do we have?
Repeat the motion.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, approved. Thank you. Unanimous. Okay, we have our consent agenda, the minutes, and the property refund adjustment, and the resolution, and the 2 school budget amendments. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So-
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, at this time we have our public addresses to the board, and no one have signed up, so I hope there's anyone that that forgot to sign up. Okay, if not, we'll move right along. We have our appearance, the Anson County Corporate Extension with a report to the peoples, Miss Blunt. I'm sorry, Miss Terry.
It's all right. I go by both of them.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners.
You?
It brings me great pleasure to stand before you for our annual report to the people. This report is North Carolina Extension's way for counties to share our successes with the community. This report can reflect current impact, educational efforts whose real impact is yet to be determined, and other activities of interest to particular stakeholders and decision makers. You have in your packets our staff list of areas of responsibilities, our client contacts for last fiscal year, which ran from July 1, 2018 to June 2019, and an overview of our program successes for last year. Before I move forward, I would like to take the opportunity to introduce the wonderful people that make Anson Extension as good as it is now. So, I'm Rashonda Terry. I'm the County Extension Director, and my program area is now Family Consumer Sciences. I'm trying to see who's where. Amy Koff is our Horticulture and Forestry Agent. Jason Barino is our Program Director for 4-H Youth Promise. Raven Spencer is our Case Manager for 4-H Youth Promise. Kenzie Everhart is our Livestock Row Crops Agent. Sam Cole is our 4-H Agent. And last but not least, we have Pam Layfield, who is our Administrative Assistant. So compared to last year, you can see we are now fully staffed. And we are very happy that we are fully staffed. So what we're going to do tonight briefly is, because you already have it in your packet, our program successes, our staff agreed upon just briefly expounding under one success that they've done in their program area. And before I give it to Amy to kick it off, I'm going to give some brief updates. And one of those updates is going to be on the Agri-Civic Center. So I think the last thing that you all knew was that a letter was sent out to our supporters and our stakeholders. I actually heard back from County Manager Monroe, and he gave me contact information to proceed forward with the market study. So I've made some contacts. One of my main contacts is Alderwoman Bingle out of Bertie, New Bern, North Carolina. She was lead on a study for the expansion of their recreational facility. We had scheduled time to talk, but due to the hurricane, that was pushed back, so we're still playing email tag. I reached out on my own a little bit, And I made contact with Randolph County Extension office staff because they just went through a feasibility study for their new Agri-Civic Center in 2017. So I'm actually working with Susan O'Kelly, who is the CEO of Randolph County TDA, because she was the lead person for their study. So we've talked via email. I called her today and left a message, but I have not heard from her. So that's where we are with market study stuff for the Agri-Civic Center. If you would take notice to your client contact sheet that you have in your packet, you will see that some of our numbers are noticeably bigger than they have been in years before. And that is because as of January 1st, 2019, Extension updated how we did our monthly reports and how we would get a picture of numbers. One of the main things that changed was our indirect contacts. We normally could just count newspaper articles for how many articles we submitted monthly, and we all submit articles on a monthly basis. Now they want us to count how many articles we submit times the circulation of the paper. So that would explain why the numbers look vastly larger than they have in the past. So without further ado, if you all don't have any questions for me, I'm going to let Amy take the podium and do her program successes.
Good evening. I'm Amy. I'm going to be reporting on the Anson County Voluntary Agricultural District program. 2019 marks the 10th year anniversary of this program in the county. It's administered by an Ag Advisory Board selected by you, our Board of Commissioners. So in the past 10 years, we've had 77 landowners having enrolled 231 parcels totaling over 14,600 acres. So some of the benefits associated with enrolling in the Voluntary Ag District are to encourage the preservation and protection of agriculture, horticulture, forest land, and open land in the county, to help farmers qualify for increased cost share opportunities and prioritization of other state programs, state grant programs. And also it provides them with increased protection from nuisance lawsuits. So when potential property buyers search the title of a tract, the conservation agreement pops up, and so that those folks are aware that there's farmland in the area, and that there's the potential for odors and sounds and slow-moving vehicles and other activities associated with farming. So we are one of 90 counties in North Carolina that have an ordinance for voluntary ag districts. And this sign in front of me is what you'll see, and you may have seen it posted around the county. This is what those participants post up on their land to notify folks that they're in an ag district. So I want to thank you for promoting the long-term financial health of our farms and forest land, and for supporting Anson's agricultural community through this growing program.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jason Barino. I'm the 4-H Youth Promise Program Director, and what I'm going to be discussing is our Community Service Restitution Program. Currently, we have 500 community service hours that the youth have went into the community and volunteer, well, not volunteer, court ordered, of course, but basically we're getting our kids out to some of these places that they didn't even know were within their own county. So we're definitely reaching out to the school systems. We've been helping at Anson Middle, Anson, the elementary schools, Anson High School. We've been to Feed My Lambs. We volunteer down there. So we're definitely active in the community. And those 500 hours were completed by 18 juveniles.
Hello. I'll be basically discussing our after-school program that we have. After-school focuses on helping the kids, and we have topics like bullying. We do topics such as time management and things of that nature. And last year we were able to help 3 juveniles in our after-school program.
So Anson County Cooperative Extension offers recertification classes for pesticide applicators. This helps with public safety and the well-being of the public as well as the applicators. Also, these trainings minimize environmental impacts. We teach safety, handling, and new laws are always coming into play whenever we talk about pesticides. So we make sure everybody's up to date on those rules and regulations. The last fiscal year, 24 credits of recertification credits were offered to area applicators, and 18 of those applicators were able to renew their certifications through the program.
Good evening. I'm Sam Cole, 40's agent, and I've been really busy. Extremely program-wise, I've been really busy. I'm going to get that out of the way. I was trying to narrow it down to just one specific thing to talk about. And most recently, we had a livestock show. I'm by no means a farmer. I've not had a lot of experience with cattle, but through this position, I'm able to learn a lot and work with the youth who do. So my success that I had a total of 21 youth who participated in the 4-H Livestock Show. They showed a total of 25 animals and represented 6 counties. I consider this a big success because of those 21 youth, I had 7 from the county, which is a big jump because generally we've had in the past 30 plus, maybe even 40 kids, but of those kids, maybe 2 or 3 from the county. And so agriculture being such a huge part of Anson County, we felt like that number should be higher for kids showing cattle in this county. So I worked with the Cattlemen's Association, some teachers at the high school. We were to work it out and register a bunch more kids this year. Of course, not all these kids showed, but we had a good number, a good bit higher than we've had in the past. So I consider that a good thing. So just going forward, we hope to keep improving in that department. So thank you all.
So as you can see, we're small in number, but our outreach is vast. We range from years of service of 2 months, I think, Kenzie, that's how long you've been with us on staff, to 16 plus years. Just about any topic, if you have a question about it, you can come to us, and if we can't answer it, we can point you in the right direction. So are there any questions? If not, we thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Terry, we thank you and your staff for coming and giving us that report tonight. Okay, at this time we'll have Mr. Steve Adams combining the precincts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, board members. I believe you have some information that you have been either reviewing or looking over. I'm asking the commissioners to support a resolution that the Board of Elections has made and already passed in regards to combining our Wadesboro locations. We have 3 locations currently for general and presidential elections. Those are Wadesboro 1, we call it, which is the Lockhart Taylor. Wadesboro 2, which is the Central School, the Charles Riddle Development Center, and Wadesboro 3, which is now located at the AA building on Country Club Road. And the reason for this combination is, number one, it's because of the voters. We are experiencing mass confusion from odd election years to even election years. For instance, we have a municipal election coming up here in just a few weeks, November the 5th. Those towns have the option to combine to one location. For instance, Wadesboro is doing that to save funds. They reimburse us for administering their elections. What will happen on election day is, honestly, probably on a general election, at least 1,000 voters come to our office every odd and even year, depends on, wondering where they're supposed to go. Because last year, they went to Lockhart Taylor. This year, you're telling them to go to Country Club Road or to go to Central School. The confusion for voters is our main reason for trying to get this combination for every election due to that confusion. Also, it would add some additional resources back into the budget because we'd be able to staff people at one location. Would not change district lines, would not change any of that. We would still report via district. We would still report what's called voter tabulation district with the State Board of Elections. Our board has again passed this resolution. The caveat we have is that the executive director of the State Board of Elections has to be the final approval of any precinct merging. What we are trying to do is get any support we can for this. Again, for the voters is the main reason. Lockhart Taylor Center, which has plenty of parking, plenty of room in the Ingram room where we have voting, would not cause any conflict. We're looking at roughly about 5,200 voters, maybe a little bit less in total. Of those, we would be in a presidential year, 25 to 3,000 would be the number we have. In a town election, we're looking at 3,200 in the town of Wadesboro and 400 vote normally. So you just see the numbers there. So my question and my asking of you tonight is just maybe a signed letter or resolution, whatever the board would be in the board's privy, so I can send that to the letter to the executive director of the state board. I have obtained a letter from Superintendent Freeman. We do use their facility, and they have been so gracious to let us use it. We all know that the Board of Elections does have some statutory authority over buildings, but we don't want to abuse that authority. The Board of Education needs that facility more so now with trainings, various things that they do. It's not fun for us to go in there and have to turn their apple cart upside down, but we've looked for other locations and there was none found for Wadesboro 2. So long story short, this combination would solve not really problems, but some inconveniences. And that's what I'm asking the board for tonight. Again, doesn't change. If anything, it may increase our voter turnout in the Wadesboro area, just because voters, I've had voters come, and I'm a preacher, so I'm getting long-winded, but I'll shut up. I've had voters come, and they've said, I'm not voting, forget it. I'm not running from here to there and everywhere. I'm just tired of it. So that's my reasoning for being here tonight. Just some supporting documentation that we can upload to the new executive director, and hopefully to get this changed for the betterment of our voters here in Anson County. So any questions you may have?
The parking is much better.
The parking is in all one level, easy curbside voting access, makes it easier really on the campaigners to have one location. So all the pros, in my opinion, of course, outweigh the cons, but we still need the State Board of Elections director to approve it. But I think any supporting documentation we can get from elected officials would benefit our efforts here. I have a letter from Superintendent Freeman supporting us or that change. So that's kind of where we're at, and I can answer any questions you may have. Doesn't change the ballot styles, doesn't change our tabulation. It just changes our location, gives us a central location for the majority of our voters in this county.
And it will lower the cost of the elections, as I recall reading.
Yes, it should lower the cost. We won't have to staff as many. We won't have to, lower the cost all the way around for those businesses and buildings, just different costs. So it would really lower the cost, give us plenty of room, and it just works better in our experience. But of course, my main goal is to help the voters, and to me, this would be the greatest way to help them in Wadesboro.
I suggested this several years ago.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Because people were so confused, especially our elderly.
Yes, ma'am. And we did try this back when I first became director. We petitioned the state board for this. We had a different executive director then. With all due respect, she had never been a director at a county level, so she did not understand really what we were trying to do. But our new executive director was a director at a county level, so it is our hope with the supporting documentation. And I also, speaking of documentation, have support from the Republican Party in the county and also the Democratic Party in the county. So we're trying our best to get everybody on board so we don't just look like we're trying to do something to make it easy. Yes, sir.
Can you think of any way this would impede any voters? Anyway, this would actually improve that.
Absolutely, it would improve turnout. I believe it'll improve those who have disabilities and handicaps just because of the parking. Central School, for instance, where a lot of folks park, even though they're supposed to go around the white store, they park on the gravel side where parking up for staff is, which could be an issue for handicapped voters, even though it's been approved as a polling site. So all in all, if it's on a scale, you're looking at more pros than cons. And I think, again, it would just be the best thing for our voters, which is what's in my charge.
I move that we provide the supporting documentation for Mr. Adams' request.
Second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to support this change. All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, unanimous. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. And hopefully by 2020, that's when we're trying to make this change, January 1, 2020. Hopefully I'll have some good news for you, okay?
Now,
Thank you all very much.
Which month will the general election be in?
The general election is going to be in regular November in 2020. The primary will be in March, unless there's some changes, some map questions going on in the legislative district. But March 3rd will be the primary, and then the regular election will be November 2020.
And filing is?
Filing is December the 2nd through the 19th. So filing is early. The state changed a few years ago to piggyback off South Carolina's primary, so that's what we're doing now. that's the plan for right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all
Mr.
very much.
Chairman, I have just a couple of observations, Mr. Adams, before you leave. First of all, I want to personally congratulate you on earning the designation as Certified Elections Registration I understand it's the highest professional achievement available in elections in North Carolina and also in the United States. So congratulations to you for a job well done. And you've accomplished a lot since 2008 when you joined the county, and 2012 when you became the director of our Board of Elections. We're very proud of the job that you're doing, and thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, I was reading a newspaper article from the Anson Record, and it had a nice picture of Mr. Adams, Pastor Adams, the senior pastor of Harvest Ministries.
Two handsome men.
And your dad, you better believe it. Two very handsome men celebrating 20 years of service in this community. We really appreciate it. Steve, Harvest Ministries, I remember when you came here in 1999, as I recall.
That's when we started the church.
Yes, and you started operating out of a small building. Where was the location specifically?
First, we started out having Sunday morning service at the Armory.
At the Armory.
And Sunday evening in our home.
Absolutely.
And then we got in the Food Line building.
But you have touched many, many souls and people here in Anson County, and having been a social worker at Department of Social Services for 7-8 years, I know personally how people feel about the service and the contribution of Harvest Ministries. So I just want to say congratulations and thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you all very much for your continued support.
Great
Thank you, Steve. And thank you, Mr. Gatewood. Okay, Mr. Lee Snug and Scott Miller with the RRRPO group.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for taking time to see us. I know you have a busy agenda, so we'll be brief. I'm Lee Snuggs. I'm the new director for the Rocky River Rural Planning Organization. You might remember the previous director, Dana Stu Yankee.
Oh, sure.
I've been on the board, been director for 8 months now, but I still feel like I'm getting my feet on the ground. But Scott Miller is our new NCDOT rep. We basically came here to introduce ourselves and also ask to talk a little bit about a few projects. Scott's going to talk some about the STIP process and spot process, but one of the things on our agenda is making sure that Anson County is ready for the Wadesboro bypass. That's a big thing on upcoming project, and we got a lot. We've been working a lot with Barron, talking to him about upcoming meetings and discussions, and DOT wants to make sure we want to ask for an audience to bring in some Raleigh reps from DOT in the near future and discuss this project in detail. So I'm going to let Scott talk a little bit about some projects and we'll talk some more details.
Well, just very, very quickly, again, my name is Scott Miller. I actually am new to this position also. I've been in this position for about 5 months now. I came from Division 14 up in Silva, but it is my job specifically within Division 10, which is your area, to work with the RPO. Coming up next year, we will have our round 6 of the STIP cycle, which is basically all municipalities and cities within the state of North Carolina vying, of course, for the same general funds within DOT. But it is a project ranking system where we have to have our projects submitted, what we want to see happen in this area within the RPO. All of those projects are due on May 1st of 2020. We do have a precursor to that in that any modifications for existing projects we need to have into the system by December 20th of this year. So just very generally stated, obviously, we have time, not a lot of time, but we do have time to have some discussions. So for the people that live, breathe, and walk in the city of Wadesboro, surrounding areas, if there are things that that we need to address, that we need to look at, that are of concern, we'll definitely work through Mr. Monroe to get these projects on the books and submitted. Without getting too deep in the woods about the process of how things are calibrated, but there is a spreadsheet, there is a hopper, if you will, by which projects are submitted and scored, okay? Things that score the best have to deal with congestion issues, safety issues are important, and crash test data is vital. If we're working to, that's kind of the trifecta of bad news for any traffic report. But if we have areas that are particularly bad or areas of that nature, those projects are going to score the best. And there are ways to tweak and work with it. Larger projects often need to be broken down due to a monetary factor. There are times where if there's municipal or regional contribution toward projects, it can in essence help the scoring process of a particular project. So there's a lot of ways that frankly it's our job to work to try to make things score, of course, so we can make things happen for this area. So that's just a quick of it. But like I said, I'm sure that we will have much deeper conversations about those soon, but just collectively as a council, if you know of things, by all means, please let your county manager know.
And we will be having monthly meetings set up with Barron starting next month. One of the projects we've been talking about is the new crosswalk at the high school for safety. We have two basic buckets of money. The STIP money is a little bit different, but the safety money is a little bit more accessible. So if there's safety projects we need to address, there is a lot of momentum happening here in Anson County. Bypass 74, we're getting a lot of push from the Port Authority about making it an interstate highway. So a lot of big things are coming soon. So we will make sure that Anson County is ready. We're ready to work with you and for you. So
are we entitled to a toll road on the bypass?
That's up for discussion. That's one of the things we do want to talk about and address. So that's, again, we wanted to kind of get a feel for the room. Again, DOT didn't want to come in here until we kind of make sure that everybody's ready to move forward quickly on this. And this is going to happen. And we just want to make sure you guys are ready. Again, we want to entertain. We don't want to come in with a bunch of people from DOT from Raleigh. We want to kind of set up I don't think it needs to be actually at a board meeting. It needs to be probably a group with Barron and maybe some others from Wadesboro to sit down and discuss this in detail.
Is there a plan yet for the bypass with direction it'll be going in?
There's a rough sketch, yes, but right now the EIS study, which is the environmental impact study, is in the process of being done. It could be next year before that's finished. They'll be more, within the next year. They should have a pretty good a good idea about where, not exact location, but a corridor.
Yeah, and the other reason that's important to get that out early. I'll be frank with you. I've been an engineer, of course, since I left North Carolina A&T, but until I came to DOT, I did not realize just how entailed the actual studies are involved for setting up, especially something the magnitude of a corridor. The environmental studies alone, I mean, you'd be surprised how many botanists and chemists actually work for DOT. These are things that we look at. And part of our meetings and talking with Barron is, before people come in, and it's simple stuff like come in and purchase land and do land grabs, it's so important to have kind of your zoning and things of that nature set up and in check, because once people get wind of these things and locations, they like to go out and buy land, because I'm sure they're hopeful that Sheets or Texaco or somebody will come and buy land for them. So, making sure that infrastructure is in place as a municipality for you guys is vitally important. And in talking with Barron, it sounds like some stuff that you guys have already started moving towards. So that's good, because that's going to be a very important factor in establishing things as this corridor comes into play, especially once that line on paper is kind of made more public knowledge.
That's right. We were happy when Barron was talking about. I think you guys are working on your land use plan, updating that. That's kind of your base. You build on that. Maybe that goes into the zoning ordinance and zoning, and we have the comprehensive transportation plan.
That puts you ahead of the game.
Exactly. So any things like this moving forward, we will try to help more with. But it's great that the land use plan is already being updated and being done now. So that's kind of the first step in being prepared. Yes, sir.
Are you gentlemen at all related to the involved in the median that's supposed to be coming through Wadesboro?
I'll defer.
That would be a corridor project. So I'm pre-planning And I'm sure that there is a project manager that knows all about that project. But if you do have, which is current planning, I of course work to develop where stuff needs to go. Now I don't say that to say that, you know, I basically it's disclaimer that I don't know the answer to that, but I can find the answer out for you.
We will be, I was at the last, just before Scott got here, I was at the last scoping meeting. We'll be at the scoping meetings involved as far as the actual planning process, that'll be done in Raleigh and with other local reps.
Will they take into consideration on the bypass the same way they took into citizen involvement and desire?
We absolutely listen to that. I was in project planning when I was in Division 14. And, you know, people would call or say to me at public meetings, well, you don't want to hear from me. And I'm like, no, quite the contrary. I absolutely want to hear from you. I mean, that's how we plan. That's how we know, you know, the different things that are happening in the areas by people telling us, you know, be it positive or negative.
So the citizens will have some input on that?
On the bypass? Yeah. When that time comes, absolutely.
But again, just like with projects from RPO, I mean, we just ask the board and any just the projects that make sense. Again, a lot of these projects that are on the STEP have been there. Some have been there for over 10 years, and they'll probably been there another 10 years. We ask projects that are like, I mean, it'd be nice to say let's have, you know, Highway 52, 8-lane highway all the way, you know, to Almont back, whatever. But that's not practical. And that's not going to happen. But I say we'll listen, but it has to make physical, you know.
And we can work if we know the issue at hand. You know, we develop a plan that does make sense. We kind of come to that ground that satisfies the issue, and at the same time will be viable and have the opportunity to score well, because that's very important.
You know what the county of Union County received from the toll road?
I have no.
How much?
You mean as far as daily toll or what?
I know what I paid.
We know what we paid. We don't know what the county recruit.
No, but that can be found out.
Yeah. These are things to discuss, because I think there's, you know, people toll roads sometimes has a bad name, but you know, when it's done correctly, it can actually be a positive thing, because again, we're not talking, you know, it depends on a lot of these are local traffic. Some of these are, especially if you're talking about freight traffic. That's one of the things. We met with the Port Authority. That's one of the big things they're pushing. They want to have a black eye from North Carolina is you can actually haul freight cheaper from Charleston than you can from Wilmington. So that's a big push by the Port Authority. They want to have 74 designated as an interstate all the way to Charlotte. Now that brings pressure from both directions, because you have traffic flow that comes from Charlotte this way. You open up the bypass, that's going to make already with the Monroe Expressway, that's knocking about 15 minutes off, you know, getting to Charlotte. That means getting here is even easier. That means access to cheaper property is easier for people. This could be a bedroom county for the Charlotte, for Mecklenburg County, which is not a bad thing. But again, if you have freight coming from, so you got pressure from both directions. So this bypass, things are happening right now for the next 10 years to change the entire dynamic of Anson County. And we just want to make sure we're here to help you be prepared.
If we want to get in on it, we need to be a part of it, because everybody bypass Anson County.
Exactly.
And we need to reap something from it.
Well, that's why when Scott was talking about the zoning part of it, that's why it's imperative to have the land use plan done first, then try to get your zoning ordinance set up, because again, it's hard to go in and, like, after people buying land, go in to establish zoning.
They can do with it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, so you want to have this stuff done well ahead, well in advance. And you know, everything we talk to Barron, he's on the ball and ready to roll with it. So please support him in any way you can.
You tend to set up on and off ramps to existing gas stations, don't you? Instead of letting people.
No, not necessarily.
Is that not true?
No.
I thought I understood.
Yeah, well, okay, so what traffic will dictate on and off ramps quicker than a location or something like that. So if you have a wireline access to a new corridor or something like a bypass, and depending on the average daily traffic count for that particular road, if that's deemed one of the areas where an interchange is needed, if there just so happens to be a gas station there, then of course, quite naturally, they benefit. But no, I mean, I've been on projects where frankly, stuff was, you know, just all but cut off, because that just wasn't where stuff ended up.
the literature says different, that's why I was asking.
Oh, yes, no, I don't design that way. I can't speak for what the literature says. It's based more on traffic count.
Can I make a brief comment, sir?
Yes.
There's obviously a great deal of congestion coming through Waitsboro. I understand that. Particularly on Fridays and Saturdays, and somewhat on Sundays. There are some adjustments that could be made to alleviate some of that congestion with the present road. Many, many years ago, a guy named Ross Monroe said that great sucking sound you hear is a business leaving the United States of America. I say to you tonight, that great sucking sound you will hear when the bypass comes is the road business of Anson County leaving Anson County.
Well, we hope not. I understand, but I think if you'll check the data, what we've seen many times, yes, you might lose 10 businesses, due to a bypass, but you might gain 20 on the bypass. So, but again, that comes.
I've noticed how the bypass has been built up around Rockingham.
Right. Well, give it time.
I'll give it 10 years.
Again, that's.
And the bypass, but you can't put nothing on the bypass in one road, the toll road.
No.
Okay,
Your
Mr.
suggestion second best.
Mr. Miller, Mr. Snug, we thank you for bringing us this report. Okay, I'm sorry.
Just one comment, just as a point of information, and it refers to the crosswalk you mentioned at the high school out here.
Yes, sir.
I would just suggest that you look real closely at the ones that have been put in on Salisbury Street, and make sure that what's put in out there is most acceptable to people using it than the one on Salisbury Street.
Right. We were talking to Barron tonight. I think there's talk about the new middle school. So we're going to have a look at the design for that, make sure we accommodate everything for the future growth. But we'll be back, and again, we'll be talking to Barron regularly. So we hope to see you again soon. But thank you for your time.
Okay, and thank you. Mr. Jonathan C. York, well, for an abandonment of a road in Lonsville area.
Mr. Chairman, Board, thanks for having me here today. Let me get set up here, or we may be deciding a pipeline in Johnston County. So.
Do you have a map of the road you're talking about, sir?
What was, I do have one.
Page 44. Page 44.
44.
So you have this map. Yeah. You want to use this?
If you don't mind, if I can see that.
I don't see it.
Page 44.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
This is the dirt road, is that correct?
That is correct. It's a gravel road. It's actually a petition. I have two petitions here. One is for 1700. It's secondary road 1700, which is Smith Ferry Road. The other road is McAllister Farm Road. These two roads actually make just a big loop off of Standback Ferry Road. It is everyone who's on it are private landowners. The reason this got brought to my attention was actually the McAllister Farm actually did the real estate closing on that, and people were coming forward with the new owner there, and were saying that they were concerned with people going in there doing some illegal dumping. There was actually some illegal poaching that they had back there, and that everyone wanted to come together and make this into a private road and then seek abandonment. So we got everyone together. It's taken about a year to get everyone together on the same page, as you can imagine. There's some things that we discussed about maintenance of the road if it became private, putting up gates, things of that nature. So what we've done in the past years, we've actually for both roads, we have a mutual easement agreement signed for both, two separate agreements signed, one for Smith Ferry, one for McAllister Farm Road. And basically, it's a private easement agreement between all the people that own the land there. And what they've agreed to do is private maintenance should this petition be granted, and they would voluntarily agree to maintain both of these roads there. Was there I'm sorry, was there a question or anything for I didn't know if maybe I was going
I'm
too
trying to
quickly.
locate this road.
Okay. This road is actually, it's off of Standback Ferry Road.
The church there, right? Yeah.
The PD Baptist Church, that is on the corner of McAllister Farm Road.
So you saying you want to close it?
Yes, sir. Yes.
What did the members say about that?
So they signed the petition.
Did they know what they were signing?
They did, yes. We actually we spoke to a couple of their main access is actually off of Standback Ferry Road. They're on the corner of Standback and McAllister Farm Road.
Yeah, you got a whole lot of dead folks down there on that road. Still no cemetery.
So the church there, actually, we spoke to the pastor and we also spoke with the trustee, and they have actually already erected a gate at their property in McAllister Farm Road. And they thought it would be advantageous for us to close that road. They will still have access to the road. We're not closing it to anybody who has property adjacent to the road. We're just limited access to people who are, to people who don't own the land of that road. People who have access for the cemetery, for PD Church, they will still be able to access that through the church's driveway off of Standback Ferry Road.
How would they control this if they shut the traffic off?
They want to erect a gate both at McAllister Farm Road and at the head of Smith Ferry Road. They would everyone would have keys to the gate. They would control it that way.
How many houses on that road?
We have on Smith Ferry Road. There's actually on Smith Ferry Road. There's only 2 houses on that road. The rest of it's just raw land, timberland, farmland, things of that nature. And we have on 1700, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different landowners, and I believe on 1702, which is McAllister Farm, we only have 3 landowners there, including the church. And and everyone has signed these petitions, and if it helps too, this is not in front of you. That it was not part of the petition that was sent over by Ben Saunders with the DOT. But I do have copies of the mutual easement agreements as well, if you'd like me to pass those out. If that would help.
Do anyone need to see those?
Like I said, I was working with Ben Saunders on this petition with the DOT. He said that the DOT consented to the abandonment here as long as everyone knew that they would have to maintain, and also too, there would be a very low chance that this could ever be dedicated back and become a public road. And everyone was explained that, and they understand that once it's abandoned, it's up to them to maintain the road.
All right, what's the pledge of the board?
Before we do that, I spoke with the trustees and Mr. Horn, and they want it.
Right.
They want it because so many people was going up there, throwing the garbage out and other things happening on that road. And they're in agreement with it. Yeah, and the way it's Federal Home, the trustee there. Reverend Horn's brother. Yeah, they didn't agree with even the pastor.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And that was actually the church was we had everyone's signature, and we waited to go forward until we spoke with the church to make sure they were in agreement as well.
It goes all the way around. It's down in there.
I make a motion that we do the abandonment.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this abandonment petition. All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Opposed.
Okay. 2 opposed and 5 yes.
1, 2.
1, 2.
Well, it won't be 5, cause Bobby's not here.
I'm sorry.
I don't know what you got in your body.
4. And by the way, Mr. Sykes is sick tonight. That's why he's not here. He's been in the hospital 2 times 3 times in the last few months. So let's keep him in prayer.
Now, Vancine, you talk to the people out there.
You want me to call him right now?
No, you're not.
And they all happy. Okay, make it. Miss Clerk, make that 5-1. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Board.
Okay, at this time we'll move right along to our appointments. On 47, the Board of Health.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to reappoint Ms. Pam Vernon to the Anson County Board of Health for another 3-year term.
We have a motion to reappoint Ms. Vernon to the Board of Health. All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay, we have, we need to make an appointment to the Jury Commission, and they are asking that Mr. William Wall be reappointed. We have a motion by Mr. Commissioner Smith and a second by Commissioner Studman. All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. At this time, we have our manager report.
Thank you, sir. We'll start off with the audit update with CFO Kerry Gardner.
Mr. Chairman, board members, happy to report. Based on our last update, we will have the finished work on the 18th, which is a week from this Friday. Part of that will include, again, it's a draft at that point, but it will include the adjusting journal entries. Mr. Monroe and I will meet and go over it at that point. Don't see any issue that it will not become the permanent document. We will have the adjusting journal entries at that point, and that way we can get 19 closed and move right into that. He's going to talk to you about a contract concerning that as well. It's kind of an extremely long process, and we don't anticipate 19 being this way. Any questions?
When can we expect to receive the auditor's report?
You should have the bound copy by the end of the month.
All right.
And then at that point, then that's a good question as well, Commissioner Gatewood. At that point, then the AFRs can be updated. The 17 AFR and then the 18 would be filed. Any other questions?
No. Thank you. Mr. Manager.
Okay. Next thing was the letter to the General Assembly. As you know, we're embarking onto a pretty large capital project when working with the school system in regards to the middle school. And financing, a big piece of the financing component is getting money from the state. As you currently know, right now there's some issues going on at the state about vetoes and approvals of some mini budgets. We got $11.8 million that has been earmarked for Anson County. What we would like to be able to do is whenever they get all that resolved at the General Assembly to be in the first distribution of those dollars so that Anson County could be at the front of the line to receive the $11.8 million so we can put that toward building the school. So in order to do that, we thought we'd at least notify our elected officials. So there's a mock draft letter in there that before we send anything out that we'd like you to take a look at.
I've read it. Let's do it as quickly as possible.
I agree.
Okay.
The faster we go, the more likely we are to get something.
Not a problem. Okay. We'll have it mailed out by Friday.
Do we need a motion to authorize me to sign that letter?
So moved.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous.
Thank you. Next, in regards to what the RPO representatives and the DOT representatives mentioned, we have the Land Use Comprehensive Plan. The first full meeting took place last September, a couple of weeks ago. and we are headed in a good direction. We have, I think I'll also update you with your manager's communication, the upcoming meetings for this next 6 months, the members of the steering committee, and ultimately the purpose behind doing it. The purpose behind doing it is getting ourselves prepared for economic growth that will be coming to Anson County in the next 5 to 10 years. Just letting you know that we put that into the budget, and we are working on that right now. So by the end of next year, around a year from right now, we should be able to have a full-blown land use comprehensive plan that you will adopt, and then we can use that as a foundation for other what is zoning ordinance, which is what we need to start working on. So, any questions in regards to that? You're more than welcome to participate in this process. We have a steering committee, but as being 4 commissioners, you can sit in on any of those meetings whenever you want to. So, I've given you the list of meeting schedules in your manager's communication. So if you ever choose to want to come and participate, feel free. Commissioner Woodburn is already sitting on that as a representative, but if you would like to be a part of it as well, not a problem. And along with that, move on to the next one, Complete Count Committee. Rashonda Terry has volunteered to chair our Complete Count Committee for the census. Again, we've had 2 meetings already. We've had a training, and we've had a most recent meeting in September as well. We are looking forward to starting to roll out the information to our citizens in Anson County to let them know why this is important, how best to be counted, and to make sure that everyone's counted at least once in the county. We know that we're looking at a potential decrease in population, and that doesn't bode well for potential federal dollars coming into the county. So we want to make sure that if we are losing people, that we're not just forgetting to count those people. So we're going to make a concerted effort. Our next meeting is in November. I don't think we have a set date for that just yet. But again, because this is your county, you're more than welcome to sit in on those meetings. But we have, I think, a pretty strong group, a pretty diverse group that will reach out to many different areas of the population. Any questions? All right. The next was hospital deed. Attorney Scott Forbes.
The hospital deed, I've spoken with Carol Wilson again, who is in-house counsel for Atrium Health. Once again, she has finally gathered all the names and the powers that be with the board, gotten them to sign it. They sent it back to her. They've forgotten to notarize it. That is the last step. She has assured me that she's getting it notarized, and as soon as it's notarized, she'll send it to us. I do want to make sure you understand, we still own that building. This is just going to be an additional, I said building, I meant property. It's still just another step to make it even cleaner for us, right? Because the original deed said it automatically reverts back to the county once it was done. So this is just a cleanup step, but it should be completed. It's been quite a ways in coming, or quite a while in coming, so it should be here.
Good work.
Thank you.
Next on the list is the Belk building. Last month we had a situation in which we had mold growing inside of the building on the floor of the state probation side, and then ultimately on the child support side we decided to remediate anything that could take place there as well. So we
better hurry up, it's going to float over to the courthouse.
Hopefully not. We'll put floaties on it.
Good stuff.
We've got a new HVAC unit, a new air handler. We put up all the carpet and put in tile. That's all been, well, the tile will be installed by the end of this week across the entire first floor of the building. So there's no more carpet as we currently stand, and we have a new HVAC system. So that problem that problem has now been solved.
I understand you're doing the same thing at social service, right?
I'm sorry?
You're doing the same at social service, is that correct? You're taking out all the carpet?
On the child support side of the building, yes, sir.
No, at social, child support, I'm sorry.
Yes. Child support in the first floor of the building, that's what we've been working with. Okay. Moving on, next is, I don't know if she's in the audience today. No, Maureen isn't here, but just want to give Maureen special attention. Maureen led at the animal shelter. She applied for and received a $40,000 grant, and that is all on her initiative. So just wanted to let her know a public acknowledgement of the effort that she went into to find eligible dollars, apply for them, and receive them.
God sent in a letter from the board, a nice letter congratulating her for getting the money.
Yeah. I was out there this afternoon, and she also have applied for another grant.
Ashley. And she's a go-getter. So
Yeah.
just those are things some of our department heads are doing that we should be recognized, that should be recognized for. And then next two, SPCC certificates. One of the issues that we've had, or one of the primary objectives that I've had since I've been here, is to make sure that we have training opportunities for our staff. And we've had the first group of employees to go through our SPCC partnership, which is Excel training. We had 11 or 12 participants, and they all went through it. Hopefully it turned out to be well. I don't know how well it went. I'm assuming it went great. But right here we have 12 certificates that I'd like to hand out to those individuals who took the opportunity to enhance their credentials, to enhance their capacity at work. We need people to be able to step up and do more. And by providing the training, I'm glad that they stepped up to take the training and the opportunity to be able to do more. So if we can, what we'll do is just acknowledge these individuals real quickly and hand out certificate. Won't be too long. Just
take your time.
Okay. No pictures.
Okay.
Suppose they want their picture too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna follow you.
Thank you.
So first we'll start with Keisha Dunlap. Next, Miss Brandy Gaddy. Miss Mary Hayes. Tina Hildreth. Miss Mary Kendall. Miss Tanya Meacham. So no one cared about it, what does that do? Next time I know. Miss Sherry Pons. Mary Lynn Relton. Carrie Rory. Lori Ross. Miss Kathy Streeter.
What's your husband's name, sweetheart?
You should have related to that Ingram one.
Well, regardless, I like the idea of people coming to training, so thank you all, department heads who are currently here, staff, to be able to advance the training.
Great job.
Next two things are now back to two pieces of business. The authorization for the county manager to do airport funding. Well, basically, this comes down to the airport receives grants, and again, we only put in 10% maximum into the grants from the state. In order to help move forward with those projects, if I had the authority to sign off on those, they could start those things sooner than later.
You don't even get $9 for $1. Let's do it.
Okay. At that point, I think the clerk and I discussed that we would need to have a vote on that authorization.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Okay, and in the same vein, the piece that I added earlier, authorization for the county manager, this is for signing the contract for the auditing group to continue with the next audit, the 1920 audit, so that we can move forward with it without delay.
Okay, motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you all.
Ms. Monroe.
Yes, sir.
Excellent report, very comprehensive. But could you give us a quick update on the new DSS building?
The new DSS building, well, I like to call it the DSS project.
That's fine.
Because we're still looking at opportunities for doing things. For the last 2 months, Ms. Jackson, myself, Leon Braley and Kerry Gardner, the CFO, we've all sat down and we discussed opportunities and options for the new DSS facility. What we've settled on as of last Wednesday, was to go out to bid for a spec building, essentially, to go through that last step of the hurdle. We still believe renting is the best option for us because of the reimbursement structure. So we decided that instead of trying to figure out other things, we're going to go out to bid. And if anyone happens to, excuse me, and in that bid, we'll say we need to have X, Y, Z. X, 30-some-odd thousand square feet. We need to have it be built to the specs that we have with the Mosley contract. And if anyone can meet those criteria within the county, then we'll move forward with that. If that bid comes back and there's nothing, that we have to go to a different option. So right now we're going to go out to bid to see if that opportunity exists to find a building that will hold us. Because with the Roses coming in to take that facility, we've been kind of in a holding pattern for the last 2 months.
Mr. Gatewood's your man. He knows everything about it. Seriously, I say that with respect.
Okay, thank you. Is that it, Mr. Manager?
That's all I have. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, I want to have two things. Miss Terry Udi, she's one of the board members at the Rotary Bank, and they'll be having a meeting here at the Waynesboro Fire Department next Tuesday, October the 15th at 5:30, and we really need 2 commissioners to attend that meeting, along with the manager and the finance officer and myself. Yeah, next Tuesday we need 2. We don't want to get more than 3.
October the 15th.
Don't everybody everybody volunteer at one time.
Yeah, I was going to volunteer, but the Board of Trustees at the Community College, we're having our retreat on that date, and I won't be here at that time. I'll be in Monroe.
I think I got a medical conflict.
At what time?
At 5:30, they're going to have supper, and then they'll have a meeting. Okay, Commissioner Stedman. Yes, and I will attend, so I know Commissioner Syke won't be able. Commissioner Smith. Mr. Gatewood.
I'm out of town that day, I'm afraid.
Okay.
My mom to an eye appointment.
So I guess it'll be just the 4 of us, unless Mr. Scott won't join us.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get back down here, but it's going to be doubtful.
Okay, just come on, we appreciate it. Okay, I attended the morning council meeting last Monday night, and they received a letter, the thing that they need to change at the community center today. I met with the mayor and 1 council person and someone from Council on Aging, and they're going to try to bring some of those things up to date. They're going to do the paint immediately and the new heat pump. And it was one other item they were going to go ahead and do now, but some of the things they're going to have to do it each year in each budget. Okay, that's it, Mr. Woodburn.
Okay, just for informational purposes, I don't know, like I said, everybody here probably already knows this, but South Piedmont Community College is 20 years old this year. And we actually had a little celebration a few months back. You know, Governor Hunt did away with Anson Community College and Union Technical Education Center in May of that year, and in August that same year, through a little project for input as far as the name is concerned, the South Piedmont Community College was selected. So we've been around for 20 years already. It doesn't seem like it.
I gave them a name.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Not the name.
Right.
I didn't get to it.
Oh, all right. That's all I have.
Okay. Any other commission?
Just one announcement. I'd like to share a report from the Anson County Board of Social Services. At our last meeting on September 18th, we recognized about a half-dozen employees for their long service. And we've started a new program. It's called the Employee Recognition Program. And it will recognize and congratulate employees at the following intervals: 5 years of service, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and 40 years of service. And for 2019, we recognize the following individuals. We didn't have anyone with 5 years of service, but Tammy Moore and Norma Marino had 10 years of service each. Kathy Welch, our administration person, has 15 years of service during 2019. Belinda Deese, at Child Support, 20 years of service. Robin Bowers, Income Maintenance, 25 years of service. And believe it or not, we have an individual with 30 years of service. She's here tonight, Ms. Lula Jackson, 30 years of service at Nancy County DSA. She's had the distinction of supervising my mom, and she also supervised my mom's son, yours truly. So she's been through a lot, but she does a tremendous job for Anson County, has for many, many years, and we just want to thank you for the service and the job that you're doing and wish you continued success. Okay.
Mrs. Jackson does a great many things for this county. That may be your daughter now.
Again, Lula, we want to thank you for the service that you're doing, and we hope you be around many, many more years.
At least 30.
Ms. Sturtevant, you said that's a great idea. What were you referring to?
Recognize, I believe in giving honor where honor's due. I believe in it. I like to.
And it doesn't cost us a dime.
That's it.
And I really think,
I appreciate it.
yes, I really think we need to expand this to the entire county.
Yeah, yeah.
And do it maybe 3 or 4 times a year, Mr. Monroe. They don't have to be present, and if they are present, we'll have them stand and recognize them, but at least put their name in print, make it part of the official record.
Oh, God, that would be great.
Can't we do it at a Christmas party each year?
Well, we do it at a Christmas party, but that's pretty unofficial. I think we need to formalize it.
Yeah. That's all right. Great job. Ms. Dunlap, how many years do you have?
Mr. Manager?
21. Oh, God. Oh, yeah, and she's young. Y'all can give her a hand.
Just might look into it and see if we can,
yes.
and find a time that we can do it, and what, maybe
Not
once a
just
year.
once a year, though.
Not just once a year.
Like Mr. Gateway said, 2 or 3 times.
2 or 3 times a year, once a quarter would be plenty sufficient.
Then I can bring my firefighter back up here. All right.
We can take a look into it, for sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there anything else, any other commissioner? If not, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a motion. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Sure.
Nisa, get a copy of that, baby doll. All right.